got him back on the department. Like Herman Mason, he'd always be having a plectron, he'd always be at the traffic light in Linworth, directing traffic when we was coming through. And that was worth it to me, just so he could have a plectron to know we was coming that way.
I was thinking there was a Delaware, there's John.
Yeah, John. He went to Columbus.
Oh, he did?
Mm-hmm. Ashton, Bauer. Well, this is after Bucher was hired, see. So this had to be, I'm going to say, about 74.
George Plummer.
Roger White.
Mike Neff.
Baby died of SIDS. You remember those runs?
God, I don't.
Yeah. Katie Sampson. So it's after we had the medic, because we had her down there.
She was
Dr.
Dr. Carr's nurse?
Well, she had been at one time, but she was the one that taught Columbus medics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she worked for the Heart Association at the time. And she taught Columbus medics, and since he lived on Grandy Cliffs, I got her to, her and I taught the medic class for Stark Washington Township. And some of the guys from Sharon came over and took it.
So the Washington Township taught a medic school, and she was
The instructor.
the instructor. And was that a early on, very innovative thing?
The second one, because she taught the one in Columbus first. Now Arlington, I don't know who taught Arlington. Arlington was the second to have a medic in the state, and then we were the first township to have a medic in the state.
And about when was that?
I'm going to say 73. Casual took care of getting IDs for everybody and everything.
Also, so saw he worked a lot on pay. I don't know if that was just 78 to 82 that he did that, or
Yeah, he worked a lot of nights.
yeah.
Yeah. Some of them did. Fluke worked every night was available, if he could.
Is that right?
Yeah, he worked township all day. And so when that law went through, he's out of luck. If he worked the fire department, he couldn't even respond to a fire unless they paid him overtime. So, you know, they cut, when the bigger city unions got that law through, they really cut out the small departments, because if somebody was on another department, was on your department, which we had a number of them then, that was on other departments that worked part-time.
Sure.
They couldn't do that either. So really, Rexmeyer,
Look at there. What is this?
street guy,
Oh.
Yeah.
except I
That's a
made
street
one up
guy.
that,
You know
for
anything?
the dispatchers, I had one made up, and it probably is what was eventually put on the computer. But I had all the streets listed, and I went out, sent some of the other guys out sometimes, but got a fake number. Because in Columbus, we had a number for every intersection. But you didn't know if that was the north, south, east, west corner that was on. So I made up a dummy number for the intersection. That way you'd know to turn left or right when you got there. And that was all on that street guide.
When did,
For the dispatchers. And then I
When do
made
we-
up alarm cards. They never had cards, which is a requirement of ISO.
when did they go to full-time dispatchers?
Before I got there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when Harold was getting ready to quit. Because
Where'd they work out of?
Perry Township building,
Oh, that's,
they're police dispatchers.
yeah, yeah.
Kay Shumpire was one of them.
Oh, she was?
She still greeted me out when that night we was out for the Dublin's Hall of Fame thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Had to give her a big hug. There was quite a difference between her and him.
Yeah, quite a bit.
So I'd love to open it up for anything else that I haven't asked about. I know we've had pretty comprehensive.
You started out asking him his thoughts of our dad, and he didn't say very much. So I want you to go back to that, because I had to go through that. I got to go through that, let's say. So let him talk a little
Describe your
bit.
dad.
He was my hero. There's no doubt about it. You're talking about somebody you looked up to. He's the one I looked up to. You know, he was a heck of a cabinet maker. You worked with him a little bit. find out that, but it's his interest in the fire department. I never saw him go in and fight a fire. He was usually on the engine, run the engine. But the old Scioto Boat Club down at Griggs Dam on the west side of the river. We went down there with Norwich
Just
one
south of the bridge.
night. Yeah, went down Norwich and that thing
Above
was
Griggs
on
Dam.
fire. And I'm up in the attic. Why in the heck they had it up, I don't know, but here, somewhere there I found a case of beer. I stuck a couple in my pocket. I took it out to him. You know, beer, he popped that thing open. He started, "You son of a bitch, that's been boiling." But he always had the water lines charged for us, I knew that.
So you got to work with your father.
Yeah,
What was that like?
for me it was great. I thought, you know, follow him out. Like I say, I knew I'd have water when I went to the building. Now, he wasn't a hydraulics person, he just, tool engines, you set it at 150 and fought fire, no matter what line you was using or what nozzle you was using. That was the old thing, just put it on to 150, which calculated out for 100 pounds on the relay lines.
Tell me some stories about him that you remember that you really.
Well, I think I was running out I can tell a story about him. We was, he's a cabinet maker, he built back bars and booths for beer joints and restaurants and stuff, and he was installing one down Parkersburg or somewhere. We was going down Route 23, just north of Waverly.
Ashland, Kentucky.
Yeah, just north of Waverly, and there's a sign over this little culvert, PP Creek. And he looked up and he says, "Well, there's the outhouse up there on the cliff where it comes from." And when we went to Michigan, the only time we ever went somewhere on a vacation, we'd go by and the sign says Flat Rock, Michigan. There, how many miles? He says, "Wonder where the cow's at."
You've heard old cow pissing on a flat rock.
Yeah.
Or no, it's raining like an old cow pissing on a flat
Yeah,
rock.
that's
That
where
was
it
to
came from.
describe how hard it was raining.
But, I didn't see much, you know, I didn't know him when he was younger and playing ball and different things. But,
No, I don't either, and that kind of,
well, I always bothered me
because
when
he
I
was.
found, I'd see some of
he
those
was,
pictures and he's in it.
The Oddfellows Lodge was a big deal in Dublin. In fact, they owned and ran the cemetery until the lodge folded up. And he was a member of the lodge, wouldn't miss meetings. It was tough for him in the fire department because he worked in Columbus, as I told you before. But if things were bad, he would come home from work.
Mom would call him and say, "Church is on fire," and he came home from work and a big fire at the church.
That's another one that we didn't talk about. This was the Thanksgiving in 1945. The church here in town, which there were two things in Dublin in the 40s and early 50s, 30s, 40s, and early 50s, the school and the church. If something was going on, it was going on at either of those two places. And a fire broke out on the day after Thanksgiving, the Friday after Thanksgiving. And fortunately, the fire truck was 3 houses down the street.
Of course, without water, without hydrants.
Without hydrants.
So they had to get inside to fight it.
But they did have the, let's see, 45, they did have the Ford truck, the 41.
Yeah.
And they were able to put the fire out, probably saved the church. And we were without the church for about a year. So where did we have school or church? In the school. So my guess is he probably came home from work that day.
Yeah, I remember that. And the other thing was, trying to get the smoke out of the building. And some guy went around with a pipe pole and broke every window in the church. It would have had to been done. So that took a lot to replace the windows.
And that was.
Now, that was just the brick building that sits
Yeah.
out
Yeah,
front,
that's
Yeah.
out on, right on the
And you
street.
know, if you knew it, they hand dug that basement. That was built without a basement. And they actually hand dug that basement with all
On
the
the
bricks
rebuild?
sitting on top of it.
In the
No,
30s.
in the 30s.
And you didn't have to be a
40s.
church member to work there. This is during the Depression. They had shifts that would go in there and dig out. There's a story about the minister at that time would drive over to the quarry. It was over on the other side of the river. You know where those nice homes are down in?
The gated community.
Yeah, that was a quarry, and he would go over there and get dynamite and bring it back to dynamite the dirt there under, and the stone underneath there. And on the way back one time, he had a blowout. You know, tires and tubes in those days, a blowout. And he said to his people after that, I thought I was going to meet my maker.
Because he was carrying
Because
dynamite.
I thought it was the dynamite that was going on. And the guy, he left here a few years after that, and maybe 5 years ago, his daughter came through town and wanted to see the church and talk to people that would have known his dad. And I asked her that story, and she said, yes, that was true. Because I always wondered if it happened that way. But Reverend Loomis was here in the 30s, and he printed a weekly little paper that was put out, and that has given us a lot of history about Dublin in the 30s, and particularly the building of the stone bridge, because he talks about this is way off from the fire department, but anyhow, he talks about the building of the bridge. The contract was let in 1935, or in March of 35, and the bridge was done in December. All of that stonework, of course, we're talking about the Depression, and we're talking about people out of work, and I would imagine every stonemason within 100 miles worked on that bridge in at least 2 shifts. Elford Company, which is still in Columbus, which just finished the skate park out by the police station, was the contractor on that. And
They worked multiple shifts to give more people work.
yeah, to give
Instead of
more
just
people,
working overtime, they
to give
worked
more
2
people a
shifts day.
job, they had a couple of shifts. I don't know, maybe even more in the summertime. But my granddad took pictures. I got a picture,
Weekly picture of that being done.
like a series of 60 pictures on the building of that bridge. And the Historical Society's got it. And those pictures are also in that library thing.
Very cool.
So,
That was important, because that's the bridge they ran across to get to the fire engines.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Siren set right on the corner there where, I don't know what pizza place it is now, the original.
Donato's.
Donato's there.
Yeah, the
Donato's.
original stone building.
And
Was it on that corner or was it on Shriver's?
no, it was on the other
Opposite
corner.
Shriver.
It was
Okay,
opposite
southeast
Shriver's
corner.
where Donato's is.
On the southeast
And
corner.
the
Yeah.
people lived in that house. That was right outside their bedroom.
Because it wasn't
and-
that high, it was just about
Yeah.
gutter height.
I saw my first picture of it just last night.
Oh, you did?
Oh,
A
really?
newspaper clipping in Moffat's binder.
Yeah.
I'll bring that in and let us flip through it. But yeah, there was a story of a run, and then actually. So I've
And
been
of course, that's the siren they use for air raid training. In World War II, to have air raid training, they had wardens, well, most of them were firefighters.
yeah.
Three was
Heroin.
three was a fire out of town and 6 was a fire in town, or
Yep.
was it building and grass
Yeah.
fire?
No, in town, out of town. And there came one for a squad run.
You know, I don't know that I captured that yet. I think it's on my next.
Don't lose that.
What's that?
Don't lose that. You have a lot of things to.
This is all online. This is on Google.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
it's
it
all
is?
yeah.
Under what?
So I'll give you the link once I get it confirmed, but it's
Okay.
I've created an email account, WTFD Ambassadors is the program I'm calling it, just because they wanted a recruitment thing and I thought it needed to be historical, so I thought, an ambassador just goes out and shares their love for the cause. And so I decided that an ambassador program would be appropriate. So it's WTFD Ambassadors at Gmail.
Oh, there's the one that wrecked at the east end of the Dublin Bridge.
And
One
then-
morning, I tell you, when this happened, that's Dick's picture, that's not my picture.
I know. Well, I took that because it all came out of the same book. So,
God, that's probably the longest my hair have ever been too. But when I, of course, lived over on Skyline, and so when I got the call, the medic just wrecked at Termeer, and I just topped the hill, and here's a medic on its side, and you see people sitting here and here, and I thought they were all injured, and the truck turned over in the ditch, and I thought, oh man, so I called for additional squads immediately. And Bud Sanford, when he came with their rescue, he said when he topped
That's
the
sure.
hill, he said the same thing. He thought, oh my God, how many died?
huh.
They got out of it all right.
Tell me about that.
That $10,000 medic. That guy was one made by the government.
Who was driving it?
Casual was on it, I know, and it might have been Bucher with him. I know it was Bucher. Could have been a third guy, but I don't remember.
Somebody hit him?
Yeah.
So
That was tough because especially with this old apparatus, you had to get a run to get up that hill. And so they tried to get through that stop sign.
See, there was a stop sign when it was just one lane coming down, when it was a 2-lane road going up the hill. There was a stop sign, 33 had the right of way,
Yeah.
coming north and going across the bridge. And coming down the hill, you had a stop sign.
yeah.
Or if you went straight across the bridge to go straight, you had a stop sign. So you try to check traffic coming and they either missed it or this guy.
And one
He
guy,
said he speeded up.
one guy with a little bit of pull, coming down the hill, come straight through and hit a car going around. And I assume it was a fatal, I don't know. But this guy just fought until he got the whole damn place changed over there.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's driving a big old
That's where
Cadillac.
that wreck was, of that baby I told you about. Was delivered and then she was buried underneath all that stuff. They'd already taken her mom out and was getting ready to transport her. And they said, something's wrong here. And started digging and there was a baby underneath all that.
So there was a story I was told about the 33 auto accident where the car